Hello everyone and welcome back to PSGL here for F6 on the PlayStation side. We're here at the Red Bull Ring for the Austrian Grand Prix in Season 30. We've had some pretty exciting races so far of this season, and we come to a track that both in real life and in league racing over the years has brought us some very thrilling and sort of non-stop action. There's some great moments have happened around the Red Bull Ring, some great battles, and plenty of different drivers have come to the front here, and with the ability to overtake, the winner doesn't necessarily have to have a good qualifying, so plenty of factors can come into play for a win around this great circuit. Today I look forward to seeing who plays track to perfection, who will be the driver to get on the top step of the podium here in Austria. Drivers are nearly ready now for today's event. I am your commentator Jackson, a solo again this week. If anyone watching is interested in becoming a commentator for PSGL, do get in contact with the league, and provided that you can sort of provide proof of commentary experience in the past, you could join us in one of our tiers. Yeah, the driver's now starting to ready up. 36 laps here. A very short circuit. Well, I say it's a very short circuit. It's a relatively short circuit in Formula 1. However, it is a very high-speed circuit with lots of long straight and high-speed corners. Not many corners here, but again, that's because it's a very high-speed track. Lots of flat-out segments of the lap, which means very low, very short lap time. We see lap times getting just over 60 seconds here. So yeah, in the race, that's why there's 36 laps, which is more than you'd often see in a 50% league race. Load in now to qualifying. Now, of course, this is a track where you definitely can overtake. However, it is far from an easy track to overtake on. It's one where, looking at the layout, you think, yeah, easily make an overtake into turn 3, turn 4, maybe even chance something into turn 1 or into one of the fast left-handers. However, in practice, it's quite often here with the power of DRS. It's quite easy to see the field fall into a DRS train and not manage to sort of make any moves on each other. Of course, the guys up front are going to be able to get ahead of the leader, perhaps, but quite often he may not even want to be the race leader. You don't feel like you've quite got the pace to be out front. Sitting in second may often be the best place to be. You get to conserve a bit more tyres, conserve maybe a bit more ERS and fuel, because you have that DRS, which allows you to do the same lap times as the leader without actually having to be as fast as the leader in terms of raw speed. So, whilst I said overtaking in theory is easy, and I'm sure we will see a lot of overtaking, we perhaps could see some DRS trains appear, and when they do appear, that does tend to restrict the amount of overtaking that is possible. But, I mean, who knows? It comes down to the drivers into those. If these guys are willing to fight every single lap, then I'm sure we'll see plenty of overtaking. But equally, perhaps if these guys play it a bit more sensibly, more smart, they might take their time a bit more, not go for the rush dive bombs. They may be happy to sit in the DRS train as long as they need to. That is until the end of the race, but I'm sure you'll see absolutely every driver in the field going absolutely 100% to get the best position they can in the race. So there could be a nice peace and quiet in the mid-stage of this race, but be sure that will not last all the way until the checker flag. Those final couple of laps, maybe even the final couple of corners, could be very, very exciting here. As the first few cars now take to the racetrack, it is CRE Cameron who leads the field onto the racetrack. On the medium compound tyres, a lot of drivers you can see here have gone with the medium compound to perhaps go for a different strategy in the race. Maybe they could be just burning that set of tyres so that they get a feel for the racetrack without having to use a set of soft tyres, because it's very rare that your first run in a short qualifying session will be your best run in the short qualifying session. So using the mediums for this first run gives you an idea of the track conditions, gives you an idea of the grip you have on offer, without actually wasting a set of soft tyres that will, of course, provide a lot of grip for that qualifying lap. Similar flags on the racetrack, but I believe that's just some cars going a bit slowly. You see our first line lap begin here as Cameron dives into turn 1, chucks over the inside curve, goes wide on the exit, and the first lap of the day is the first invalidated lap of the day, and I'm sure it will not be the last here. Plenty of corners where you can step slightly over the edge of the racetrack without much of a mistake, and bang, your lap is invalidated. Final couple of corners here, they do sort of have a large runoff area. It's a runoff area that you quite often wish you could use, because the couple of final corners do invite you to send the car flying at high speed, and then on exit you'll sort of realise, wait a minute, the track ends much earlier than I thought, and you'll end up invalidating your lap time. Or as we saw in turn 1 there, Cameron just sent it in first corner. This is why it's good to do these medium runs, because you get an idea of that grip, but was expecting much more grip than he got into the apex, pretty alright, but just on exit just went way too wide, not even close to keeping on the racetrack. But that's why these guys are getting these laps early in the session. They want to learn the racetrack here, because practice is all well and good, but you never know what the exact conditions are. As Cameron validates again here, this time on the inside of turn 1. So yeah, that corner is not their friend at the moment, as IFR Link sets the first lap time of the session on the medium tyres with a 1:03.975. So yes, there's our first lap time, and so far only lap time on the board. And as I said, that Trasmite comes in on a set of softs, 3 tenths quicker, and Van der Brugge is way off the pace, so you have to assume has had a mistake on that lap. Then comes J-Sack, lots of laps now starting to come in onto the board, but yeah, none so far, until maybe that of Charlie Moon. None have been that close to current provisional P1 links in the Ferrari. I'll have a quick look now at coming into this race as we start to see some of these lap times get put on the board. Let's have a look at what happened last week in PSGL F6. It was a Hungarian Grand Prix to remember, a track that quite often doesn't produce that much drama. We saw a kart racer who had a pretty tough qualifying, starting down in 11th place, charge his way through the field in the early stages, get into a top 5 position, and with a bit of luck on a safety car, found himself out front and managed to win the Hungarian Grand Prix, but not without a fight. A late charge from Chiquito got into the fight. A difference in tyre compounds between the two meant that Chiquito could get very close to Kart Racer at the end, but just didn't quite have the time at the end of the race to make the move on Kart Racer, and Kart Racer took their 4th consecutive victory and their 5th consecutive podium of the season. And what a job on the championship it's been so far for the McLaren driver. I mean, we come to another track here. Could we see a change? Who knows? Seems that Kart Racer's pretty good everywhere so far this season, and even when they have their struggles, twice this season, I believe, at least twice this season, Kart Racer's qualified outside the top 10. Both times Kart Racer has won the race. They've got onto the podium. So yeah, pretty impressive drive so far. But yeah, really one of the men to watch last race was Milan, who got pole position as a reserve driver, I believe, at the time. And as we see Ischik go fastest on the medium tyres, very impressive lap time there. 3 milliseconds up on second place. But yeah, Milan got pole position, was dominating the race until that late safety car, and dropped down to, I think, 7th in the end, because of having to pit at an unfavourable time. Safety car just came at the worst possible time for Milan. Really messed up their race. And if I have a look, now actually promoted, I believe, to a higher tier, just because of how good their performance was in Hungary. So definitely a driver that was sort of exciting to watch in their one race here in F6, but maybe they'll be a little bit higher up the ladder. So make sure to tune into those races if you want to see Milan racing again. But it is Chike still top of the times here on medium tyres. Van der Brugge in second for Haas on the softs. Could start to see some softer tyres going on some of these cars now. 12 laps on the board. Most all of them are looking relatively competitive. Of course, yeah, a bit of a spread between them, but for first runs of the day, those lap times are all within a couple seconds of the fastest, so are at least decent laps. However, especially some of those down the back of the grid will be looking to jump up the order here as we prepare for the second runs of qualifying. A few cars are heading out onto the racetrack at the moment. Kart Racer valid on this lap, coming into the pit lane, yet to set a lap time. They are, how many points out? They are 46 points into the lead of the championship. A win here in PSGL is 16 points. 16 points. I mean, 46 point lead, that is huge. I mean, yeah, it's going to take a lot for Kart Race to be beaten this season. realistically, they're going to have to either retire or miss several races, which I just don't see Kart Racer doing given his consistency. So yeah, so far qualifying not going especially well for the McLaren driver, but we've seen that in the past not exactly make much of a difference to Kart Racer's final result in the race. But yeah, decent qualifying session so far today. 12 drivers have set a lap time, as I said. Yellow flags having just some cars getting out of other cars' way. And rightly so around here. It's not a hard track really to get out of the way of people. Lots of long straights that you can easily just back off a little bit and let the quick car by. Quite a lot of drivers on outlaps at the moment. A few on fast laps, blues like Yagazan on a flying lap. Nope, they invalidated. So that's how things are going so far for me. JSAC coming across the line where will they go? And they improve up to 8th position, so they clearly made a pretty big mistake in the final sector of their first line lap. 8th there for JSAC in the AlphaTauri. Big improvement. 400ths off of Bottle and 500ths ahead of Charlie Moon in at 9th place. Who else on the lap at the moment? Fruitful invalidated their lap. Lynx was top for a lot of this session. They're purple in sector 1 on this lap. The Ferrari driver flying around the hills here in Austria. Got a good exit. They're going to maybe get a little bit of a tow here from the Alpine. Alpine gets out of the way as it rightfully should. And Lynx diving down into turn 4. Bit of a deceiving track in terms of corner numbers. Turn 2 isn't really a corner of Formula 1 cars. Or many race cars. So it can get a little confusing. But once you know, you know. And Lynx making their way around this track. Winding through the high-speed part of this lap, which is, well, most of the corners on this track. But look at the traffic in the final sector. That could certainly cause some issues now for Lynx. But they have all got out of the way pretty well. However, that could well have got into Lynx's head a little bit as they come across the line. They go fastest anyway by 500ths of a second. Strong lap there from the Ferrari driver. But only 500ths quicker than the driver on mediums. That's still a very competitive lap time for Mistrike. But maybe there might be a bit of time in the final sector. Also, as I said, those cars didn't get in their way, so to speak. May have got in Lynx's head just a little bit. Just seeing those cars close to the racing line could throw you off just a tad. Maybe didn't take as much speed through there as possible. But yeah, it's a strong lap there from Lynx, who puts themselves provisional P1 in this session. A lot of drivers invalidated so far in this session. Pretty much most of the drivers you can check have invalidated on their lap times so far. But lots of drivers doing their best to get the lap times in as early as possible, because when you do that final lap of the day, you are going to want that lap to have absolutely nothing held back. You can't hold anything back when you're fighting for that every last millisecond, especially on a track like this, where it is just so such a short circuit. It means that the tiny margins mean so much more than any other racetrack. You need that every last millisecond to be in the car, and it means that when you go into those final laps, you have to be fully committed. Just look how close the field is at the moment. Like down in 10th, with only 3 tenths off the fastest time. But yeah, as Chiquito comes across the line, where are they going to go? They go fastest by 2 tenths of a second. A brilliant lap there from the Aston Martin driver. Chiquito goes, well, in terms of Austria, a significant chunk faster. And Trasmike jumps up into second, just over a tenth off of the Aston Martin. But yeah, as I was saying, these laps are so important to these drivers, not only because they're really quick, as Van der Brugge now goes fast, as this track is really ramping up now, but not only important because it helps drivers out, but also it gives them that little bit of safety and security that when they do go for their absolute fastest lap of the session, their final lap where they risk nothing, if they do make a mistake, if they go wide or if they spin, they have that lap to fall back on. So worst case, they're going to be still qualifying in a pretty strong position. So that's some good news for them as Kart Racer. It has jumped up into 6th position there, comfortably inside the top 10. Let me just check. Strike. Was that? Yeah, that was indeed their best lap that they set the medium tyres on. Very impressive there from Strike. Davey also up there on the medium tyre. So could we see a couple of drivers maybe qualify inside the top 10 on the medium tyre? That would certainly be an impressive feat. But maybe the mediums aren't that slow around here. That is quite possible. But yes, at the moment, looking Pretty close in qualifying. I think that's a bit of an understatement, really. This is an extremely close qualifying session so far. Top 16 all covered by a second. It is very, very impressive there. But kart racer making their way around the track there. Particularly on a backed off lap here. Indeed they have, going half throttle. Yes, with just under 6 minutes left in the session. These drivers now beginning their preparations for their final round of the session, getting their head in the game for what is going to be a very important lap. But at the same time, a lap that we could well see a lot of drivers make mistakes on as JSAC crashes. Where is that on the track? That is just coming through the S section there, and yeah, it looks like they've spun off into the barriers, which is a surprisingly easy thing to do here in Austria in that part of the lap. Whilst there is a very wide run-off areas at most of the corners at this track, the speed you take here, it means that no length run-off is really long enough for the speed that you go off track here at Austria. So yeah, JSAC out of the session, and that's now both AlphaTauris who will not be on track for the final runs of the day. Davey currently improving on their lap as they come up into turn 3. Bit out of sync with the rest of the field at the moment is Davey. Maybe just trying to get a clean lap, a little bit less traffic, but to be fair, it's not especially quiet out there at the moment. Quite a lot of cars on the racetrack. Maybe not as much as we'll see right at the end of the session though. So let's go on board with Davey here as he makes his way into this high-speed Sector 2, then into Sector 3. Part of the racetrack doesn't quite get all the way into the apex, but still carries good momentum around the outside line. Again, not quite, they're pretty much on the apex there. Right at the curb on the right just a little bit. It's looking pretty solid here from Davey. Let's see what they can do through the final couple of corners. Full send here, all the way on the curb once again, and then validates the lap and comes into the pit lane there. And Davey will have hopefully enough time to get one more attempt in at a lap. But yeah, lap time there for Davey, invalidated, pushing all the way to the limit, and that's what we love to see. I think it'd be more disappointing if they weren't pushing all the way to the limit, to be honest. If these guys were taking it easily, it wouldn't be much fun to watch them at all. But yes, Yagazan on a lap now. The other Mercedes driver, they have invalidated theirs. Yaro also invalidated their lap. Charlie Moon's on the racetrack, and they are improving. Let's see, can we see a valid lap here from Charlie Moon? At one point in the session was very high up the order, so expect a pretty strong lap time here from the Alfa Romeo driver, chucking it into the penultimate corner. Now into the final corner, gets it all the way into the apex, hits the curb, and they spin out of the final corner. And that could well be Charlie's session, realistically, pretty much over here. I don't know if they'll have time or the fuel to get back around. Yeah, their fuel light is flashing. They won't be able to get back to the pit lane in time, I don't believe, to get another lap in. So Charlie Moon, driver who has shown some very strong pace in qualifying so far today, just didn't quite hook up that final lap, and I believe they spent like 4 attempts up on their best at the point where they made a mistake. And 4 attempts up on that lap would have been about around, well, maybe even top 3 if there was time to find in the final sector. So they were pushing the absolute limit, and sometimes it bites. So yeah, as I was saying, but that's what we enjoy to see. Not the fact that it's spun, but the fact that they were willing to really risk that much to go for that lap time. As Micheletto jumps up into 3rd place now for Alpine. Strong lap for them, looking to get themselves up into a solid starting position. Now they're going to be hoping that not many people beat them at the end of this session with just under 3 minutes left to go. We should start to see some of the fast laps of the session take place. Taquito invalidated their lap, so the Esteban driver will have to go around again. Trasmike currently on a lap. Let's see what they can do as they go through the Sector 1 split. What will it be? 4.3 seconds down. I imagine they may be backing off of this one, yet they're not using ERS, so that's not quite a flying lap. Lynx is on an out lap at the moment. They'll be preparing themselves for their flying lap as Kart Racer goes to the top of the times there. McLaren driver, the dominant driver so far this season, jumps up to the front of the field and will be going for that pole position. It's a strong lap, but by no means is it unbeatable. Only a few hundredths ahead of the 2nd place car. Cheeto still letting cars through. Micheletto also letting cars through. Charlie has now retired from the session. Trasmike, we've seen that they've backed off this lap. They'll be about to start their flying lap now. Lynx also just started theirs. Let's see what they can do in this 1st sector. Oh, nearly having contact with that Haas car as they came out of turn 1. Now up through turn 2, heading into turn 3 now. Braking as late as they can, using all the track that they can, getting into the apex. Let's see, what is this going to be like now? Exit of turn 3, DRS is open, as Fruitful goes to the top of the time sheets there for Ferrari. A 10th.5 clear of Kart Racer, great lap there for the Ferrari driver. But we're watching their teammate come down the hill, a little bit off the apex. You could see the rear end of the car just did not want to stick through that corner. And now, as they backed off, yes, it's a mistake from Lynx. They've backed off that. Maybe they're going to go for one final attempt after this. But a mistake from Lynx there will compromise them, as we see Trasmike on their lap at the moment, charging their way through these Austrian hills. These guys all on the limit. Another similar wobble at the apex of turn 4 there for Trasmike, and the Red Bull flies past now into the final sector they go. Trasmike doing all they can, and they backed off their lap as well. Micheletto has invalidated Chiquito. Are they improving? Yes, by a 10th. Is this fruitful pole position that we're about to witness. Yagazan has retired from the session. Chiquito making their way through here. Chaza jumps up into 3rd position now. Chiquito a 10th up. This lap not currently on for P1. However, a good couple of corners here could well put Chiquito into a position to fight for pole. May even be a front row start, but they go wide at the final corner. They don't invalidate. Across the line comes Chiquito, and it's only 5th position. Lost time in that final sector. Jake Marsh currently on the lap here, currently slightly down on their lap. Behind them is Lynx, who invalidated their lap. Driver has been quick throughout the session. Invalidates their lap, and they're gonna not get another lap in. Maybe gonna just be knocked outside the top 10 here, as Jake Marsh has gone around now as well. All these drivers struggling at the end of this session. Pulling off of the road. Ischik, they're improving the Red Bull. Let's see what Ischik can do here. Was briefly P1 in this session, using all of the road through this high-speed part of the racetrack, and off the road, and invalidated the lap. Another lap down the drain, as Ischik will not start inside the top 10 here. Darrow is into the pits. Michelizzi has invalidated. Chaza is not on a flying lap. Chiquito is not on a flying lap. Micheletto is not on a flying lap. Trasmike, are they improving? Only good enough for 8th, not able to improve the lap time there. And that is everyone with their lap times done. It is pole position here in Austria for IFR Fruitful and for the Ferrari team there. That is quite possibly a crucial pole position for Fruitful season. Kart Racer though, when they're not first or second, Kart Racer will be on the front row here, looking to try and continue their run of form this season. Chaza and Vandenberg, the Haas drivers, looking at the second row. Maybe they could use teamwork to their advantage to maybe get into the minds of the drivers ahead of them and try and get the win today. Maybe even a 1-2 for Haas, which would be some much needed points for them at the moment. Haas team currently 4th in the team's championship. There's a pretty close battle for second at the moment, only 5 points off of second place, which is actually held by Ferrari, so it's in their best interest to beat Fruitful today. And Lynx at the back end of the top 10. Lynx really arguably in the worst spot in the grid here, just down in 10th position, last driver, sorry, with without free choice. So let's have a look now. What tyre did everyone set their lap times on? Ischik, that may be why Ischik, they weren't able to improve on their medium tyres, so they will really, if they want to start the mediums, they're going to get the chance to now, and they're going to be fresh mediums as well, so win-win for Ischik down in 11th, the winner of round 1 of the season. But yes, it is pole for Fruitful alongside Kart Racer, with Chaza Vandenberg behind them. Chiquito, second place last time out, will start 5th today, trying to make something happen from there. Then it's Micheletto in 6th, Davey 7th, Trasmike in 8th, Jake Marsh GP in 9th there, 4 attempts off the pole, with Lynx in 10th and Ischik, first drivers outside the top 10. Let's have a look at the gaps. The entire field covered by less than 9 tenths. That is pretty crazy. Yeah, that's Austria things right there. You just don't see that at other tracks. And I mean, the top 6, 3 tenths, the top 10, top 11 covered by half a second. Insane margins here. Top 14 covered by 6.5 tenths. Crazy stuff. Cameron, the only driver not to get a lap in this qualifying session. It's close stuff here in Austria, as it so often is. We're going to wait now for the race to begin. Formation lap is ahead of us. And hopefully after that will come a very exciting Grand Prix. The sun is out here in the Styrian Hills. We just wait for these guys to pick their strategies, select their starting combat. Of course, if you're in the top 10, that choice is made much easier. Of course, you have to start on the tyres that you qualified the top 10 on. Those outside the top 10, however, will have free choice. So those guys have a bit more of option, a few more options for them. They could start softs, try and just get that out of the way early in the race, try and copy those ahead of them, stay in the DRS train. Maybe go medium as go for an alternative strategy. Maybe even go hards and hope that there's a lucky safety car or something along those lines could help you out later in the race. Could see quite a mix-up here as the drivers take to the formation lap now. Let's have a look at what tyres they did all take. So it's Fruitful on pole position on the soft tyres. Kart Racer alongside on the softs as well. All the top 10, as I said, on the soft compound tyre. Chazza third, Vanderbrug fourth for Haas. Then it's Chiquito, Micheletto. Then it is Davey, Trasmike, Jake Marsh GP. IFR Lynx, driver who at one point in that session was P1, as many different drivers were P1 in that session at some point. But Lynx, one of the early leaders in that, didn't look to quite get their final laps inside. Keep an eye on Lynx to maybe make some moves forward. Istjike first drive with a free choice of tyres, goes to the mediums, as does Yaro and bottom behind. Yagazan also on the medium tyres. That seems to be the tyre of choice for those that did not make the top 10, as Jasak and Micheluzzi also go with the medium tyre. However, it's a mix-up. Charlie Moon goes to the soft tyres here, going with something different to try and get some track position early in the race maybe. Try and make those moves on these guys around them, with Cameron in 18th and last position on the medium tyres there. So all these guys have gone one of two ways of either starting on the softs or starting on the mediums. With the exception of Charlie Moon, everyone that had free choice did go for the medium tyre, so maybe that could be a strategy to keep an eye out on for this race. Yes, two drivers have won so far this season, those being Istjike, who started 11th, and Kart Racer, who is second. Kart Racer has won the last 4 races and has been on the podium for all 5 races. Could that change today, or will they keep up that streak? Fruitful currently 7th in the championship, yet to even get a podium this season. They'll be looking to go a bit better than that today, starting on the pole position as the grid now lines up behind them. Final couple of cars falling into position now. Cameron rolling into their grid spot, and they are in position. We await the green flag at the back, and the lights are coming on here in Austria. We are racing in Austria here. Good start from Kart Racer on the inside. Gonna go for the move into turn 1. Are they gonna send it? No, they have to back out. And behind them, the Haas of Vanderbrug looks to the inside of Kart Racer. Oh, it's a big crash in the background. That's Micheletto who's gone flying off the road on the right there. Looks like they may have made contact with the barriers and potentially some other cars as they went off, but it's Fruitful who leads the way up the hill. Kart Racer in second, went cautiously into turn 1. Nearly got caught out by the Haas car, as that is Vanderbrug, who is just about holding on to 3rd position. But Chazza in 7th. They've lost positions at this start here. Looks like a small mistake from Fruitful, our leader. However, Kart Racer not going to make the move at the moment. Already the top 2 breaking away from the field. Vanderbrug, Chiquito, Davey, and then Trasmike all in a row here. Chazza just behind them at the moment. Lynx as well as Jake Marsh, Yagazan. A lot of changes of position throughout the field. Let's see how they are getting on up at the front. It's still Fruitful leading the way. Kart Racer in second. Vanderbrug sitting 3rd. Chiquito in 4th at the moment. It's all close stuff here. Chiquito doing all they can. It's all going to move, and into the pits comes Chazza. Must have picked up some damage from the side, put a Kart Racer down in turn 1. And that is some unneeded damage as a spin off the final corner. Cameron has gone around down in 17th place. Micheletto also into the pits. I imagine they've got quite a bit of damage from that turn 1 collision. But up at the front, Fruitful still leads the way. Vanderbrug just clinging onto the DRS of the top 2 at the moment. Change of position here. Trasmike and Lynx swapping around further down the order. Let's see if this battle is over yet. I'm sure Lynx does not want it to be there, pushing hard. They're going to make the move back over into turn 4 to the outside. Deep on the brakes goes Trasmike. There's not going to be room around the outside there for a Ferrari, and Lynx perhaps correctly backs out of that overtake there, trying to make something work, but Trasmike has got up into 6th position. However, has lost a little bit of time to the group ahead, so these guys perhaps need to start thinking about the long game here. Can't lose that DRS, especially this early in a race. That's just not something you can deal with at this point. Kart Racer, 6 tenths back, 7 tenths back. Looks like that's sort of the gap you want to another car. It's Fruitful sets the fast lap of the race. Chiquito close to the back of Vanderbrug at the moment. Perhaps Chiquito with a bit of overspeed on the Haas driver as they come up towards turns 2 and 3. A long stretch here. DRS is now enabled, so we're going to see an even closer field perhaps than earlier. Yagazan and Jake Marsh swapping positions further down the order. Yagazan on the inside on the medium tyres, looking like they're getting that to work at the moment on the Mercedes car. Medium tyres perhaps going to be the better race tyre in the long game, but if they can make that work at the start and at the end, that is a strategy you would want to be on 100%. As we're going to change for third place, Chiquito and Van der Brugge battling away. This could hurt them a lot if they lose the DRS to the top couple of races. If those top two are given the opportunity to break away, they will take it in a heartbeat. 7 tenths separate second and third at the moment. I think Cheeto has to play smart here. They can't risk losing the DRS to the top two, even if that means holding position for a few more laps. If that's what's required to not lose DRS, I think that's the decision that Cheeto will have to make. As Van der Brugge already with a 3-second time penalty. Maybe that's what Cheeto can see. Van der Brugge is struggling here, and that gap is above a second. This could be a tough defence here for Van der Brugge. Will they have DRS as they come up the hill? Cameron also with a penalty. Further down the order, no DRS for Van der Brugge. Surely there's nothing they can do. If they were struggling before, they will struggle again now. It's got a change of lead. Kart Racer swooped past Fruitful and out front. Chiquito doesn't make the move for third place here, but we have a new race leader. Kart Racer will lead the Austrian Grand Prix. Fruitful in second place, still within DRS, and that may well have helped out Van der Brugge. That may well have helped out Chiquito, because that little battle up front has maybe pulled them back into the DRS. So this is getting close. As we've got a retirement down in Sector 1, I believe that is Charlie Moon who has spun, and a safety car is deployed here in Austria. An early race safety car. Strategy now could get a little bit interesting. Kart Racer was just starting to pull away there, interestingly. Yes, will Kart Racer pit? They're coming in. Looks like Fruitful is as well. Will all of these drivers pit? I'm guessing for the hard compound tyre. Will it be the entire field? Istrike stays out on the mediums. There we go. Someone's tried something different. Bottle's going to stay out. Yaro's going to stay out. JSAT's staying out. It's a real mixed bag here. What all the guys further down the order will do. Cameron staying out. Chazza is so far back they may as well pit. So yeah, they have already pitted in this race, so they may just pit onto a fresh set of hard in this race now. Oh, but interestingly there, it's split strategy in the pit stops. Some people are going mediums to the end. Others are going hard to the end. That's an interesting decision. And it's not just those that start. Those that start on the mediums, I believe, have also gone medium tyres. That's a confusing strategy call there. Cameron up into 9th place there with that call. Yeah, that's a strange one. There clearly, obviously, has been some holding up of cars in the pit lane. Chiquito dropping down to 10th. But yeah, certainly some. I mean, Yakazan started on the mediums and has gone to another set of mediums. So they're planning to go to the hard, the soft at the end still. I mean, those that have gone hard, will they have to pit again? I don't know. This is a strange one here. But yeah, the top 5 did stay out there under the previous safety car. So Istrike leads the race ahead of Bottle, Yaro, Jasak, and Micheluzzi. So these guys trying something different. The 5 of them, I think it's better for the whole group that 5 of them stayed out. They would obviously would have been even better if more had stayed out. But with 5 cars out, means that it's not just one car on their own who's going to fall like a stone through the order. 5 cars here, they might be able to put up a fight if they have the pace. Because, you know, 4 laps worse off compared to fresh hards, that's not a huge difference here. Of course, we know Kart Racer Fruitful really are sort of some of the strongest drivers, well, are the strongest drivers at least today in the field. So they're not going to be easy drivers to hold off, but it's not going to be, I don't think it's going to be an easy move for either Kart Racer or Fruitful to get ahead of these guys that have stayed out a little bit longer. It's an interesting split strategy, especially for those that have gone mediums to mediums. I'm going to have a quick look here to see who has done that strategy. So of course, top 5 have stayed out on the medium tyres. They can all, they will all have to pit again. Then you got Kart Racer who went soft hards. Same for Fruitful and Van der Brugge. They could go to the end. Then we have Cameron who stayed out. They will have to pit. Chiquito, Davey, Transmike, Lynx, Jake. They all pitted to mediums. Now I don't think that I don't know if those mediums can go to the end. Speaking purely on the fact, legally those tyres could go to the end. They've had a change of compound, so yes, they could perhaps go to the end, but I'm not 100% sure of whether the tyres will last. But then you've got Yagazan, who's got mediums to mediums. That's a curious one. They will obviously legally have to pit again in this race. Chazza went hards, perhaps playing it safe. And then Micheletto and Charlie Moon both going to the mediums there. So 7 drivers in this field still definitely have to pit. But yeah, let's see, is the safety car in this time? It is indeed. Drivers are getting ready for the restart here in Austria. Got some change of position further down the order, so perhaps the field is stacking up a little bit too much. But already, off they go. Ischik will lead the cars around the final couple of corners here at the Red Bull ring. It's a Red Bull leading the way. Already with a sizable margin to second place. Ischik leads, Bottle in second. As there's already been a car coming to the pits there. Cameron is down into the pit lane, and so is Trasmike, who's had an issue entering the pits, I believe. And, oh, they've perhaps even been spun into the pit lane. It's got battles, and Yaro's already crashed. Yaro is out of the race. One of the drivers who stayed out here has had a spin coming out of turn 1, and they've retired from this race already. So problems for the Williams driver, who tried something different in the pit stop and has been taken out of the race. As retiring also is Trasmike in the pit lane there. But yeah, that is a pretty crazy restart, as we are back under green obviously here. Ischik with an 8/10 lead. Then it's Bottle with 1.2 seconds back to Jasak, Micheluzzi. Then it's Kart Racer already with a 1.1 second gap to Fruitful. But with those guys in front of them with the slightly worse off tyres, this could push these two back together again. But I don't know where Yaro crashes out of this race on the restart. And that's a perhaps missed opportunity there for the Williams driver, who tried something different in the pit strategy. And it's not going to work out as Bottle gets a free second time penalty for track limits infringements there. As Ischik gets the fastest lap of the race. You can tell they're pushing as hard as they can to try and break that DRS to Bottle behind, but I don't think they're going to manage it, as Lynx now goes fastest, 1.5 seconds behind the car ahead of them. Seems like the field's spread out a little bit behind the safety car, strangely. Maybe some issues for drivers further back in the pack caused this effect to happen throughout the field. But up front, Ischik leading away, and with DRS still yet to be enabled, as around Cameron in the pit entry there. It's had some sort of issue. But up at the front, we've got Cheeto battling with Vanderbrug. Cheeto trying to make some moves here on the medium tyres. Has better tyres than those on the hards, which of course includes Vanderbrug. So we'll have to use those tyres whilst they have the chance. And Cameron now retires, and is our 4th retiree from today's race. Kart Racer on the back of Micheluzzi. Micheluzzi on the back of Jasak, but out front, Ischik with a 1.2 second lead. Whilst DRS is not available, it appears Ischik has been able to get that gap above 1 second, which crucially means that when DRS is enabled, which of course it now is, Jasak has crashed out of the final corner. Jasak has crashed, and the safety car is deployed again. But a car slow on the main start, and yes, in the wall, Jasak out of the race. Another driver out, 5 retirements in this race, and the safety car is deployed again. Could we see another change in strategies for some of the drivers? Ischik leading the way. That's not what they would have wanted to see. I'm sure Ischik could have been hoping for a nice long run there. They looked like they had the pace to pull away out front. But the safety car is not going to allow them to do just that. They will have to bunch the field back up again, and strategy again becomes a question in this race. Do you stay out? Do you pit? I imagine those on the hard will stay out. I don't even know. As I said it, I changed my mind on it. I don't know. I imagine this Ischik really has to pit here. Surely it wouldn't be an option to stay out. I mean, I don't know. Maybe if they stay out the first time, maybe it's worth the risk. They are looking as though they're going to pull in though on this time. And yes, this Ischik is, I believe, coming in to pit lane. Yep, they are. Bottle is as well. Micheluzzi is staying out. Kart Racer, of course, staying out. Fruitful staying out. Chiquito staying out here. As Vanderbrug will come down pit lane. Now, this is the fault that I had for the hard tyre runners, is that they could go mediums here, and I feel like they would comfortably get to the end without any issues in the slightest. So Vanderbrug here, maybe going to take different. This Bottle has gone to softs, perhaps anticipating more safety cars in this race, which perhaps wouldn't be an incorrect prediction. But yes, it's strange one. That's a bit the way around here. But Micheluzzi, only driver who hadn't pit yet for a second set of tyres, does stay out here. Yagazan came in there for a set of hards, so they've not going to go for the 3rd stint on medium tyres. They've committed now to changing their compound. Yes, Vanderbrug. I like the idea from Vanderbrug here. Kart Racer and Fruitful definitely have the track position to stay out. But that is going to be a nice set of mediums. Much nicer than those that are already on the medium tyres. So Underbrug maybe going to make some moves later in the race. Bottle is certainly going to make some moves on those soft tyres. They'll only for about 8 laps before they fall off a cliff, but there'll be a fun-filled 8 laps for Bottle, sitting in 10th at the moment. But with only 13 cars in this race, another safety car or even just a bit of luck will be all you need to try and get some points here today. But yeah, the field bunched up and ready to go racing. Micheluzzi on those worn medium tyres, yet to pit in this race. They will lead the field back to green flag racing. You can see them warming up the tyres. And their foot to the floor here. We're racing again in the Red Bull Ring. Alpine this time leads us to green. Kart Racer in second, looking to try and make something happen immediately. Knows they've got the much better tyres now. At this point, the mediums will be worse than those fresher, hard compound tyres. Micheluzzi doing all they can to pull away as they come up the hill, but surely there's no way Micheluzzi can pull out of DRS range of Kart Racer here. Already battled slow down the field, Ischik and Chazza, and that's Bottle getting involved as well here. On those lovely fresh soft tyres, going to enjoy these few laps. There's already contact between the Haas cars, nearly into the wall, goes Van der Brug on that fresh set of mediums. Their teammate nearly ran down into the barriers. That was a close call between the Haas drivers there. As we've got the change for third place, Chiquito and Fruitful side by side. A very interesting manoeuvre there from Chiquito on the medium tyres, able to get ahead of Fruitful on the hard. It looks like Fruitful struggling a little bit here. The hard tyres don't look to have the grip in the slightest. Chiquito and Davey both have the pace. Even Micheluzzi seems to have the pace over Kart Racer at the moment. These hard tyres do not look like a very fun compound to be racing on at the moment. As Davey now pressuring the back of Fruitful, Chiquito is pressuring the back of Kart Racer. That's not how I expected this restart to be going here. Perhaps Chiquito has another pit stop to make in this race, but still that pace is impressive at the moment. Kart Racer in the second place, Davey in 5th, trying to make something happen. He's got battle third down the order. Again, Bottle making some moves here at the moment on Ischik, who is on the hard compound of tyre. Jake Marsh in 7th here, trying to stay in this group of cars. Links just ahead as Fruitful and Davey are side by side through the hairpin. Turn 3, good corner for racing. Now it's all about who can get the throttle down better. You imagine the driver on the medium tyres would have the much better grip on exit, and it does look like that is the case. Davey up into 4th place here and can join Chiquito in the pressure for Kart Racer, who is, I imagine, would have been looking forward to this restart, trying to get ahead of Micheluzzi, but at the moment it is not Micheluzzi who is under pressure. Doing a great job out front at the moment is the Alpine driver, just holding a steady gap. I wouldn't be surprised if as soon as DRS is open, Kart Racer makes this move on Micheluzzi. But so far so good for the Alpine driver, who went with a different strategy, the only driver on that strategy. And so far it is not necessarily working, but it's certainly not failed just yet. So it could be an intriguing one for Micheluzzi. Kart Racer in 2nd place, opening DRS now. As it already, Chiquito, look at the cap right on the back of Kart Racer. They're gonna go for the move here. This is for the net race lead as they come side by side up through turn 2 into turn 3 now. Kart Racer on the inside line, could break that a little bit later. Gonna squeeze Chiquito right off the racetrack. Chiquito forced to back out of that one there, but again is going to have another chance as they make their way down towards turn 4. Defending goes Kart Racer, to the outside goes Chiquito. Kart Racer goes deep though, could Chiquito go for the switchback? They're going to have a chance here on the exit, and they're going to power past the McLaren. Great move there from the Aston Martin driver Chiquito, making it a pretty outstanding switchback work on the driver who has been oh so dominant this season. Kart Racer drops down to 3rd place. Davey will now be the next driver to try and pressure the McLaren driver to give up that position. But now Micheluzzi, I'm sure, will be very worried. Before, the hard tyres were perhaps balancing out Kart Racer's pace to Micheluzzi. Now Micheluzzi has a car behind them with 5-lap fresher mediums. That is going to be a hard car to keep behind, if not impossible. As Chazza has dropped back to the back of the pack. Looks like some sort of issue for the Haas driver. He's got overtaken throughout the field, racing all over the field here. And already Chiquito is making a move for the lead of the race. Micheluzzi, is there anything they can do to defend? As Davey's going to attempt the move on Kart Racer just behind. Davey on the inside of the McLaren kart racer just needs to perhaps focus on the drivers he really is racing, which of course is Fruitful, who is also involved in this battle now as well. It's getting very close, but look, kart racer doing all they can to stay ahead of Fruitful, as that's Bottle on the soft tyres on an absolute charge here up into 5th position. We'll definitely have to pit again in this race, but is making most of these laps on the softer compound of tyre. Great run here for Bottle, gaining positions left, right and centre, and looks like they're having some fun at the moment, which is what we all really come here for, of course. But yes, Chiquito leading the way. This is their chance to try and break DRS to the field. Micheletsi will be holding up as a spinner in the background. That is, who is that? Is that Micheletto? It is Micheletto in the Alpine. Has had a problem here. It's gone around in sector 3 and has lost quite a bit of time there, but it got going again. But as I was saying, Chiquito needs to take this opportunity to break DRS to Micheletsi. Will Davey have to pace to reel them back in as we get yellow flags in the final sector? And that's, I don't know what that's for, to be honest. But yes, now, change for 2nd place. I believe that could be ahead of us now. Davey, no real fight there as kart racer, defending for Bottle. Bottle on the soft tyres is on the inside for 4th position now. That's a roll, big slide. Micheletsi drops down into 5th place, and they're going to drop more here. ADRT Bottle is going to go into 3rd on the soft tyres. Fruitful gets up into 5th. Micheletsi on those worn mediums, pushing a little bit too hard perhaps, and loses the car. But keeps it out of the barriers, keeps it out of trouble. And will still very much be in this race now as they continue to file past the Alpine drivers. Nearly contact in at this high speed part of the lap. This is not somewhere where you can risk a bit of wheel banging. It often ends badly if you try that at this part of the lap. The gap up front, just 6 tenths of a second. You can see just how hard Davey is pushed to get back into the DRS of Chiquito, and it's been worth it. It has worked. Bottle now will be the next driver to try and break back into the DRS zone, but 1.3 seconds back now. Perhaps we'll even start to see the soft tyres not necessarily struggle, but start to balance out the competition now, as Davey is on the back of Chiquito. Kart racer in 4th place, Fruitful 5th, the 2 Ferraris 5th and 6th, looking in a decent position for the Constructors' Championship at the moment. 29 points behind McLaren they are at the moment. As is that a look up the inside? Yes, it is. Vanderbrug going for something here as Jake Marsh and Micheletsi battle as well. Vanderbrug doesn't look like they made that move work. However, still battling behind. Got Jake Marsh and Micheletsi battling away for the 8th position here, racing throughout the field here in Austria. We maybe thought we'd see a bit of a DRS train. Whilst there is a DRS train, it is not stopping these guys from absolutely going all at it here. Jake Marsh makes the move on the Alpine driver and makes their way up into 8th position now. Vanderbrug on the back of the Ferraris. Tried to move last time around. Didn't quite manage to pull it off though. As these guys starting to settle out now, as settled as it has been so far, at least here at the Red Bull Ring. Proving to be a great little racetrack for these guys to race around. Chiquito leads the way. Davey in 2nd place within DRS crucially. At this stage of the race, Davey could just cruise, to be honest, at this point. Try and regain some of that DRS that they've perhaps used to get back within that DRS zone. Davey just going to be taking it nice and easy. Chiquito needs to be aware of that almost. Needs to save their DRS if they're... It's better that they save their DRS as well, maybe even lose the position to Davey rather than burning their DRS whilst Davey doesn't have to use any at all. So it really is a tough situation to be in. As Vanderbrug again tried the move on Lynx, and again it didn't work here. Lynx on much more worn tyres than Vanderbrug. Vanderbrug knows they need to make this move as soon as possible. Perhaps a chance in. No, not going to be able to go for it into this part of the lap. Going to stay behind. You can see the grip difference between these two cars. Vanderbrug on the fresher medium tyres has the grip to do something here, but just does not have the track position to make anything work. However, that could all change here. Bottle's tyres starting to fall away, starting to group up this pack even more, and allowing the top two to really pull away out front, which is, I'm sure, is music to their ears. Vanderbrug in the fight here with Lynx for this P6. It's close. Racing. There's a bit of a slide there for Lynx. That could be the chance that Vanderbrug needs as they make their way up the hill now. Up at the front, got a change for the lead perhaps. Davey stays behind us. We've got a spin further down the order. Yakazan's gone around next to turn 1. Meanwhile, Vanderbrug does not go for the move on Lynx on this corner. And look, almost pushing him through the corner there. Massive amount of overspeed. As behind there now, Jake Marsh looking to make a move here. As leaders continue to race closely, but still no change for the lead here. As Chiquito leads the way over Davey, with Bottle 2 seconds back and losing time each lap that they do. This pack staying nose to tail from 3rd all the way down to 9th here. These guys in this pack, if the guys in this pack don't keep it clean, they can definitely get some points here today. About a 5-second gap behind 2P10, pretty much locks in anyone in this group to score points. So, these guys want to look at the big picture. Always a mistake there from Van der Brugge. Drops down the order, is going to lose the position to Jake. Yeah, these guys, I was going to say, if these guys play it safe, they could just lock themselves into a point-paying position here and just stay in this train. But as we see there from Van der Brugge, they are pushing hard. As a mistake, final corner there. Who's that for? Micheletto's around and slamming into the wall on the pit straight. Got some issues here. Van der Brugge is going to get past Jake Marsh again. 5 lap better tyres for Van der Brugge. As change of lead, Davey has made the move on Chiquito for the race lead here in Austria. Chiquito is going to look to try and make this one back. I think Davey, but I think both of them stopped using ERS, which meant that the effective ERS was cancelled out, and once again meant that Davey was close enough to make the move for the race lead. Chiquito now just trying to stay close enough to Davey to maybe have another chance at this lead. But Davey again now using ERS. Now it's Chiquito who's got the upper hand when it comes to the electricity stored within that race car. As all wide, extra turn 1, Davey. They maybe had to lift a little bit there to avoid getting a penalty. Jake Marsh gets a penalty there. Lynx, are they finally going to lose this position to Van der Brugge? Looks like they are, unless they can make a send up into turn 3. Van der Brugge's been trying to get up into 6th place for so long now. Looks like they're finally just about managed it. As a slide from Fruitful, Micheletto gets a 5-second time after speeding the pits, and that is indeed a retirement there. Now there's 12 cars left in this race, battling over 10 points paying positions. It's close stuff here. Chiquito is being able to stay within the DRS of the leader, and the very thing that Chiquito was doing, which cost him the race lead, they are now forcing Davey to do the same. It's a strange sort of situation here. The race leader has to use ERS to stay in the lead, which then means 2nd place can save ERS because they don't have to use it to stay close enough to the race leader, which then means the leader then realises that and stops using ERS, then allowing the 2nd place car without using ERS to pass them. It is a strange situation, because now I want to see it. As that's Chiquito actually not even opening DRS there, just so that they stayed behind. It seemed Davey was quite willing to lose the lead here, realising the ERS situation. But yeah, it's a strange one here. Davey, he needs to try and save some ERS. They're much lower than Chiquito. If these two don't sort of start to push a little bit harder, I mean, I say that, I mean, the guy's behind Bottle at the moment, but still. It's if these two sort of perhaps play too many mind games, they're going to let the rest of the field reel them in, and he best believe that Kart Racer is fully aware of that. This guy, off the back of 4 consecutive wins, knows what they're doing, looking to find a way into this fight for the win here. Those hard tyres, I imagine, will be the better tyre at the end of the race. Bottle, I'm sure now, would be hoping that someone has a little bit of a moment, maybe a crash, allowing them to pit for a new set of tyres. Currently running 3rd, but will have to make another pit stop in this race. Chiquito still behind the race leader, and again, just look at the difference in speed as they are now actually going to go for the move. It's going to be a change of lead here as Chiquito. Oh, I can't speak. Davey loses the lead there here in Austria. Chiquito will take it away. The Esteban driver doing a good job. As Van der Brugge will get up into 3rd place. Bottle has lost 3 places here. There's been some sort of issue further down the order. Chazza has also lost time, I believe, here. Something has happened down at turn 3 whilst I was struggling with the English language. Bottle has lost 3 positions. Van der Brugge's now up into 3rd place. Kart Racer losing out here. I don't know where Van der Brugge's come from there. They were up into 5th last time I checked, and they've managed to make a double overtake for 3rd position. Great move. And the Haas driver now with the freshest medium tyres in this DRS train now finds themselves at the front of it and could well begin to really in the top 2. Chiquito and Davey gonna have to look in their mirrors in a few laps time, I believe, as Bottle finally brings that car into the pit lane. Might go to another set of softs perhaps even. They lasted 12 laps those did, so maybe mediums, just play it safe. Let's wait to see what they do. They will go to another set of soft tyres. So going to the end now is Bottle on a fresh set of softs. Chiquito leads the way ahead of Davey. It's close stuff up front, and now the situation we faced just a few laps ago with Davey leading. Also, there's contact there between the two of them into turn 4 there. But yeah, the situation we had with Davey being the one going too slow, and Chiquito having to go even slower to hold on to that DRS. It's now reversed again, with Chiquito being the one that's going slowly, and Davey being the one with the pace. It's a really strange situation here. Neither of these drivers want to use any ERS until right at the end here. But the fact of the matter is, if they both save up all their ERS, it's going to come to the point where, on the final lap, they're both going to have enough ERS to just hold position. It's not going to have much effect, which is why they're trying to play these mind games with each other, trying to be the one with the higher ERS percentage, which at the moment is neither of them. But they have the same amount. That is so perfect. Maybe Chiquito has slightly more because they're further on the straight, who knows. But Davey now effectively bump drafting Davey. Oh, Davey hits the back of Chiquito. They're going to collide at the hairpin, and that is a very interesting moment. It looks like Davey was trying to stay behind Chiquito, made a had so much overspeed they went straight to the back of the Aston Martin, and Chiquito has been spun around at the front of this field, and perhaps even some contact, some damage, definitely some contact, perhaps even some damage to Davey's car there. But yeah, that's a big moment. Oh, around. Is that Jake Marsh? Yes, into the gravel here. They can get that going again. They can still get some points. Pretty big gap behind to Bottle, but Bottle, of course, on those soft tyres, going to have some good pace. Jake Marsh has lost some ground here. But now, that has changed this battle for the leader right up. Chiquito will not be best pleased, and Van der Brugge is going to be not that far away. Chiquito now. Davey has just half spun Chiquito. Is Davey's going to try and give the lead up. They are. Davey is going to give up the lead to Chiquito, perhaps hoping that will make up for the fact that they gave him a bit of an unnecessary tap on the entrance to turn 3. So yeah, I guess that's Davey's way of trying to make things right, but at the same time around Austria, I think Chiquito would have been quite happy in second place, to be honest. But I suppose legally, it was the safest decision to give that position up and let Chiquito have the lead of the race there. But Davey still very close to these guys. Van der Brugge, of course, with a penalty in this race, so will need a bit of luck to get themselves into the fight for the win. But it's Austria still with 12 laps left to go. Certainly could be more penalties to be found in this race. Chiquito doing all they can to go as quickly as they can without using ERS, which is easier said than done here. But they do now have an ERS advantage over Davey. As Michelozzi into the pits. Finally in this race we're going to see Michelozzi come down pit lane. May still score some points today, it's possible. All comes down to whether they can reel in Jake Marsh and Bottle. Bottle looks like they're going to be able to make the move on Jake Marsh relatively quickly here. And yet that move is going to take place here. Up at the front, Chiquito has now, that sort of little bit of contact, that little moment up at turn 3, has put this entirely packed right back together again here. Top 5 are nose to tail, links 2 seconds off the top 5, then it's Yagazan, a further 9 seconds back. Then it is Chaza, Bottle, and Jake Marsh rounding out the points at the moment, with Michelozzi trying to fight their way back into the points playing positions. I was saying just a few laps ago, if you just played it safe in that train, you were going to get points. Now, if you go back a few laps, if you just played it safe in that train, you would be top 5 in this race. See, that's the thing, these guys, they push it that little bit too hard. And that's what happens, you know, you're thinking you're the best, you know, I don't want to settle for a top 10, you know, I want to try and get myself into the top 5. But then because of the people pushing like that, it then means that top train, I was nearly contact between Davey and Van der Brugge there. But because of that sort of mentality of, I need to push these positions, you make mistakes, and other drivers make mistakes as well because they've all got that same idea, and then that reduces that pack down to 5 cars. So if just one of those guys had gone, you know what, I'm going to play it safe and stay in this train, they would still be top 6, which I feel like is sort of, if they said that before, they would have played safe. It's on those tough things in racing, knowing when to push and knowing when to push, knowing not to push, sorry. It's something that I don't think, not everyone's good at it. Not many people are good at it. It's something that some drivers just do very well. Kart racer, in this race, at least in this season, the fact that they've got a podium in every race probably shows that they're one of those people that can just do that. But yeah, it is, as I said, the balance of knowing when to push and when not to push here. It's a tough one. In this race, perhaps being in that train, the right decision was to not push, but at the same time, for Van der Brugge, the right decision was to push, because now they're up into 3rd place and fighting for the lead, of course, with a penalty, but you never know, that there might be an unfair warning in there or something, or maybe someone else could get a penalty as well here. As to the inside, goes Van der Brugge on Davey, trying to get this move done. For 2nd place, runs Davey right up onto the curb, and that is going to cost Davey that 3rd position as well here. Kart Racer up into 3rd place, been on the podium every race this season, is now into the podium positions and in the net P2 with Van der Brugge's penalty. I feel Van der Brugge will probably want to try and win this one on track to prove that they can win it, because that penalty moment hanging over their head behind Chiquito in this race with 5-lap fresher tyres. At the moment, I feel Van der Brugge's probably got the best tyres in the field, but Kart Racer and so with Fruitful on those hard tyres perhaps could be at a similar level of performance. As Van der Brugge gets another time penalty, so that confirms that time penalty is legitimate. Have a quick look at exactly what each time penalty is. 6 seconds for Van der Brugge, 3 seconds for Lynx, 3 seconds for Chazza, Bottle and Jake Marsh there. As Bottle gets another penalty, so 6 seconds for Bottle there, in fact. But yeah, tyres could well be a deciding factor late in this race. Kart Racer on the back of Van der Brugge, they're going to go to move on the inside of turn 3, going to get their car all the way up the inside. And just like Van der Brugge did to Davey, you run that car right out onto the curb, but they just can't get the traction to make the move back on them. Or will they be able to make the move? No, not quite. Van der Brugge not able to find a way back ahead of Kart Racer, as Davey here has seemed to slip back. It appears was Chiquito and Davey both wanted to be second for that first stint, purely because you wanted that DRS to save the ERS. Now it seems that sort of it was almost an important thing to be the race leader, because ever since that sort of next pack joined the fight, the leader has been the one person that stayed constant. You know, you're safe from the scuffle that happens behind. Davey was second comfortably, now down in 4th, of course still very much in the fight, but not quite as well off as before, and perhaps looking like they're not going to be able to win this thing. Kart Racer looking for their 5th consecutive win here. Would be a crazy one if they manage to pull it off, especially in a race that's been as crazy. This is all the way to the grass there on the inside. That's going to go down the inside of Chiquito as well there. Could even be some contact between those two. Van der Brugge making a move on Kart Racer, also made a move on our race leader. They're going to be side by side all the way down to turn 3 here. Will Kart Racer get involved? Will we see 3 wide? Or nearly there as Kart Racer, a little bit of contact perhaps, as Van der Brugge trying to take the lead away from Chiquito. It looks like they managed to make that move stick despite the penalty. That has not dampened Van der Brugge's desire to get into 1st place here. The Haas driver now leads this race with Chiquito in 2nd. Kart Racer in 3rd, trying to find their way through this little battle for this lead. And they're going to go for the move here. Into the penultimate corner. This will be a brave one. To the inside goes Kart Racer. Can they pull it off? Yes, they can. Kart Racer down the inside and off into 2nd place. Will they hold on? Yes, through the final corner. Chiquito perhaps caught off guard by such a daring overtake by Kart Racer, the driver that has been on the podium every race this season. You could see why. That was just the exact moment. Was it all came together there for Kart Racer. They stuck behind when they saw that battle wasn't a good one to join in. Oh, was nearly contact there. Chiquito was going to go to the inside of Kart Racer. Kart Racer defending the inside, and Chiquito nearly went into the back of them. As Chiquito now on a slide. Then, and so's Davey. Both Davey and Chiquito getting on the power too soon. Going to allow Fruitful up into 3rd place. Another driver on the hard tyres. It's coming good at the end of this race now. Kart Racer, Fruitful, both making moves up the order. And Kart Racer now, I'm sure, will be quite happy behind Van der Brugge with the 6 seconds of penalties. But at the same time, I just don't know if Van der Brugge will quite have the pace here. It is, well, quite exciting, to say the least. Van der Brugge leads the race here. Kart Racer in 2nd, Fruitful in 3rd here. Chiquito 4th, Davey in 5th, and still this top 5 clear of the rest of the field. Lynx dropped back there and has now formed the 2nd group here. But up at the front, Van der Broek leads the way here. Kart Racer now has a tough job. They have to, yeah, they have a real tough decision here. Do they stay behind Van der Broek? Do they sort of hold on to that DRS knowing that Van der Broek has the penalties? But that comes with the pain of having the car behind you trying to get past. And when you've got a car in front of you, you can't brake as late as you perhaps desire. So it's a tough one here. Kart Racer Fruitful. It really is a battle of wits here rather than a battle of pace, it seems. Fruitful on the back of Kart Racer. Where do you want to be at this stage of the race? I don't have a clue. I don't know who I'd want to be at the end here. Honestly, I think Chiquito's not in the bad spot here. If anything goes wrong up ahead of them, they could definitely get up ahead again. It's Austria after all. It wouldn't be the first time we've seen a collision battling for the win in Austria here. So this could get quite a drama-filled as Kart Racer in net race lead with Van der Broek's penalty. There'll be 4 laps to go when they see the checkered flag next. When they see the start-finish line next. It's a hard one to decide who is a favourite. Van der Broek pretty clear out front here at the moment. However, they've used a lot more ERS than anyone else in the field. They are got a feeling that penalty is going to cost them quite a bit. They can still get a top 5 though. Kart Racer is going to go to the inside here into turn 3, but backs out of it. Every lap that Kart Racer can stay behind Van der Broek while staying ahead of Fruitful is a lap that Kart Racer will be quite happy to stay in that position. Because, you know, Kart Racer, I don't know if they're going to look to the inside, but again, just that little defensive manoeuvre blocks any chance of Fruitful making a move on Kart Racer. So I think the only time Kart Racer will make a move for the lead of the race will be if Fruitful is close enough to make a move on Kart Racer. I think that's the only scenario when that change of position happens. As Kart Racer gets a 3-second time penalty, that is race changing. They will not be happy with themselves there. You can see them a little wiggle down the straight. Kart Racer, that may well have just thrown away their winning streak, their podium streak. Kart Racer with a mistake, a rare mistake, 3-second time penalties. Fruitful is now absolutely loving life. In third place now is the net race leader. Fruitful here could be on to take their first win of the season here and take their first podium of the season. Kart Racer now no longer happy to just sit behind Van der Broek. They want to push. They want to get out front. Fruitful now is going to try and follow through, but they can't quite on this occasion. Kart Racer now knows they have to try and pull 3 seconds over Fruitful. This is tense here. Does Kart Racer have the pace to do so? With how powerful the DRS is, will it even be possible for Kart Racer to break that DRS? Van der Broek could well be a crucial part of this. Kart Racer, with significantly more ERS, might be able to break that DRS, but it's not going to be easy. It's going to take every last inch of the road for Kart Racer to manage to pull a way down. This is a real challenge for the McLaren driver. Fruitful will be doing all they can to try and take their first win of the season. They started on pole. They want to do all they can to get the best position in this race. But it's still far from over here in Austria. The top 3 are all pushing on the absolute limit. They know what's up for grabs here. Kart Racer leads this race by 6/10 of a second. Then it's Van der Broek and Fruitful sitting third at the moment. It seems like someone's just flicked a switch in this race. All of these drivers suddenly using every last drop of their battery, every last drop of fuel they have in their cars. It's getting very tasty here. Kart Racer, is it even possible to break that gap? I don't know if it is, you know. With how powerful the DRS is, I just don't think Kart Racer is going to be able to break the DRS and then pull 3 seconds. Kart Racer may well be faced with an impossible challenge here. But they're still going to give it a go. Out front here. As things stand, let's see where they would end up if we change it to leader. They would currently be down in 4th position, 1 place off of the podium. I mean, even if Kart Racer couldn't win today, that would be one thing that they wanted from today's race, which is a podium, to keep that streak up, to keep that streak alive. But it doesn't look like that is going to quite be possible here unless something changes on the final lap here. Lap 36 to 36 has begun here in Austria. Kart Racer leads the race. Van der Broek second, Fruitful third. They've stayed the same as the previous lap. The gap's almost identical here. Chiquito suddenly panicking because they've seen just how big the gap ahead of them is. That gap, those top 3 really have started pushing now. Chiquito doing all they can to hold on to DRS in this one. As Kart Racer has lost the on-track lead to Van der Broek. That's going to cost these guys a lot. Oh, there's contact there. Kart Racer with a big slide. and without DRS on the straight. Neither of the top two have DRS. Fruitful here with DRS could get involved here. The two race leaders side by side. Van der Brugge on the inside, Kart Racer on the outside. They're going to sweep around the outside, but goes a little bit wide. Van der Brugge gets the better exit. Kart Racer trying to make the inside work as they make it into the high-speed corners here in the middle of the lap. It's Kart Racer who pulls back out in front here with Van der Brugge in second, Fruitful in third. All of these drivers trying to get ahead here, but it looks like this could be the positions that they cross the line in, but these will not be the positions that they finish in. Kart Racer through the final corner for the final time will win the race on track. Van der Brugge will be second, but after penalties, your race winner will be IFR Fruitful for Ferrari, who takes the win here in PSGL F6 Austrian Grand Prix. What a drive there from Fruitful. Managed the penalty, managed the warnings. Didn't have to worry. Whilst the others around them got those time penalties, Fruitful kept it clean and ends up with the win here today. Chiquito in second place, Davey in third. Kart Racer for the first time this season is not on the podium, and that gap at the top of the championship may well, for the first time this season, come down just a little bit. Van der Brugge in fifth there. Can't fault the Haas driver there. Late charge, different strategy just to get into fifth at all after where they restarted on that final safety car restart. Very impressive drive there with Jagazan 6th, Chazza 7th, Bottle in 8th position there with a very different strategy to everyone else. Lynx in 9th, and the final points paying position goes to Jake Marsh in 10th place. Well, that was an exciting race. Lots of drama throughout, and just when you thought you knew who was going to win it, another name popped up. It was truly thrilling, that one. And if we get another race that's exciting as that next week, I will not be complaining. It seems this season of PSGL F6 here in Season 30 has just been the gift that keeps on giving. Next week, we go to Saudi Arabia, the Jeddah circuit. It's a track that, perhaps a controversial one, but I feel the first time really seeing it in a big league racing environment, it could definitely produce some close racing. The long DRS straights and high-speed corners will probably lead to a similar effect to Austria, where the field stays quite close. But as I said, you know, there's not much league racing experience around that track as one of the newest tracks in the game. That sort of comes with that. So, Fruitful wins here in Austria. Chiquito in second, Davey third, rounding out the podium for Mercedes Kart Racer in fourth. 6/10 off of getting that podium there after the penalty. Van der Brugge in fifth there, and that top five really did clear the rest of the field there with Jagazan in sixth. Then it's Chazza in seventh, Bottle eighth, Lynx ninth, and Jake Marsh rounding out the points paying positions in 10th. 12 cars finished that race in the end, and well, we only really needed those 3 cars up front at the end. Those were the guys that kept it exciting. Yeah, that was a crazy finish, and I hope you'll all be joining us again next week for Saudi Arabia, where I would not be surprised if there's even more drama. So make sure to tune in next week. But that is it now for round 6 of season 30 here in PSGL F6. Make sure to subscribe to PSGL, and of course join us next week. But until then, goodbye.